Welcome to the Days van De Panne, the 3 days of Le Panne along the English Channel and not too far away from the North Sea. This race is always regarded as a pointer to the form for the upcoming one-day classics. The race is made up of 3 days and 4 individual stages. The first stage, 181 kilometers from Moeskroen to Zottegem, with 3 circuits around Zottegem taking in the Leeberg and the very famous Berendries climb. That's almost certainly where the decision is going to be made, and one man who knows that very well is the favourite for the race overall, Pieter van Petegem, who lives not too far away from the start here in Moeskroen. Georgie Hincapie, he seems to be right on form for this early season campaign. He started the year very well, but the crowd favourite is obviously Pieter van Petegem, a former winner of the Ronde van Vlaanderen, the Tour of Flanders, here with a very good teammate André Schmiel, the oldest man in the race at 39 years of age and almost certainly now in his last season as a professional cyclist. This man has garnered some of the greatest titles in the world of professional cycling: Milan-San Remo, the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. A man to think about for the possible win overall is the very good Belgian time trialist Nico Eekhout. He too now leading a very strong and rejuvenated Lotto team, the flagship of Belgian cycling. And if you're looking for a new Belgian star, don't look any further than this young man, 21 years of age, a new signing for the US Postal Service, Tom Boonen. And don't ever forget the Vlaamse Leeuw, the Lion of Flanders, Johan Museeuw. This man has been Mr. Classics rider of the 1980s and 90s. He too riding his last season as a professional cyclist. The flag down for the start of the 181 kilometer stage from Moeskroen to Zottegem. Moeskroen, a small town just on the French border, not too far away from Roubaix, where most of these riders will be finishing the Great Paris-Roubaix in about 10 days' time. It's always a nervous start to the 3 days of Le Panne because everybody knows that they're going over what is really a curtain raiser of the climbs they will face in the big one-day classic next Sunday. Well, on the Leeberg, this is Stefano Zanini, Marco Milesi in second place here. A little bit further back there you can see Daniele Nardello, the Italian national champion. Almost certainly in this group as well will be the big favourite from the Lotto squad, Pieter van Petegem. These are climbs that the riders will face in the Ronde van Vlaanderen in around about 5 days' time. But this is a very difficult part of the course here. Zanini, no stranger at all to Belgium. He's come here many times before. And one man who really does ride well on Belgian roads is riding for one of the Italian teams. That's Ludo Dirksen. He's now being joined by Glyn Dollander. This young man started his professional career with the Vlaanderen 2002 team, and now he's moved across to the very good Lotto squad. The team really flying very well this year with great victories so far in the Tour of Bessèges at the start of the season. Het Volk for Pieter van Petegem. The situation on the road at the moment is those 2 riders have a lead of around about 29 seconds over a small group, and the main field a little bit further back. At the front of that group there in the blue jersey, you can see the man is hoping to be on form for the next 10 days. That's George Hincapie. He's come so close to winning the Tour of Flanders and the big Paris-Roubaix race, and he hopes that this year will be the year that will help him. Now this is the group that is chasing the 2 leaders. In the group, Johan Museeuw, André Schmiel is in this group, and they're not very far behind now the leading duo of Ludo Dirksen and Glyn Dollander. The young man in the white there, by the way, a first-year professional, Bradley Wiggins, an Olympic silver medalist a couple of years ago in Sydney, and there is the junction. We are now looking at around about 16 leaders who have a 30-second advantage over the main field, and they're now coming over the Leeberg once again. Typical Flemish roads these, the riders are on. In fact, that leading group is 18 men strong, but the main field is right on their tails at the moment. Not very much more than 10 or 12 seconds advantage, and in the group there in the orange and pink jersey of Lampre, you just get a glimpse of the man who was the national champion of Belgium a couple of years ago, Ludo Dirksens. It appears that it is all back together once again in this very aggressive opening stage. And for a change in the 3 days of the Planner, the weather is absolutely marvellous. It's a spring day here in the southern part of Belgium, and really a great contrast to the way this race is normally run in rainy, wet and cold conditions. But ideal preparation this year for the big one this weekend, the Ronde van Vlaanderen, and there will be hundreds of thousands of Belgians coming out to see this race with the hope that their man André Schmiel or even Johan Museeuw will win for a final time before they hang up their wheels at the end of this season. Well, that group of 18 is still trying to hold off there. In fact, I have a feeling it came back together, and this is another group moving off the front at the moment. So again, the race very aggressive since the start. We're now looking at another ascent of the Leiberg, which will be a 6% climb. Not very much, but at the start of the season, when these guys put the hammer down, it certainly does help. Well, this is another group here as we look down there. Johan Museeuw no longer in this group. I caught a quick glimpse there of the South African rider, Robbie Hunter. Daniele Nardello was in here as well, but the main field still very keen to keep it all together. Indication that Johan Museeuw has missed out. There he is in 4th position there. The Flemish Lion will be looking to try and win the Ronde van Vlaanderen again, but if he can take the tour, the 3 days of Le Panne on the way, that would be a very nice start to the season for him. This man has had an unbelievable career. He's been the man of the classics over the last 10 or 15 years. A World Championships under his belt as well. And what a way to go out if he could win the Tour of Flanders or Paris-Roubaix one more time. Now then, again, the whole field coming back together with 14 kilometers to go. Just 2 climbs left on this day. The Leiberg, where we are right now. And that would be very smartly followed by the Berendries, a climb well known to all of these riders. Tough cobbled section here. The acceleration always comes on when you hit the cobblestones because the Belgian riders are absolute experts over this kind of terrain, and a group of 2 riders just getting a small lead off the front of the main field, but the hammer is absolutely down. That looks like Stefano Zanini. Another group going forward here. 3, 6, 8, 9 riders riding at the front now of the 3 days of Le Panne on the way into Zottegem. In fact, we had been told that André Schmiel was in this group, and there he is, just swinging off to the right-hand side there in the red and black jersey. Houtman is in here, Zanini, and watch out for Laszlo Bodrogi as well, the Italian rider who led Paris-Nice early on. Now then, Berendries, the attack's coming. Peter van Petegem on the right-hand side. He knows this climb. He comes up it nearly every day when he's out training, not too far away from here in Brakel. One man following him, Stefano Zanini. Look at that face on Zanini there. It really is tough. Van Petegem knows these climbs. He's already won over this climb this year, and the first race of the year in Belgium, Het Volk. A big change for him. Rode for the American Mercury team last year. Put on the sidelines when the team absolutely exploded at the end of the season. He switched across to Koolstrop and now riding for the Lotto squad. The 2 men now have an advantage of around about 50 meters, and Zanini's cracked. Zanini is being left behind by Peter van Petegem, the favorite of the Flemish crowd here, but he's recovering. This guy, Zanini, he's a tough man. He's won stages at the Giro d'Italia. He's placed in Paris-Roubaix in the past, and he really does enjoy coming up here to Belgium to race. The 2 leaders inside 1 kilometer to go right now. Zanini in 1st position. 2nd position for Peter van Petegem. They have 15 seconds lead over a group containing 6 riders. And very shortly they're going to come inside of the last 500 meters. Zanini is in 2nd position, starting to sprint on the left-hand side, opening the gap. It's neck and neck for these 2 riders right now. Van Petegem on the left-hand side now. He's trying to kick. He wants to win here in front of the Belgian home crowd. Coming across the road into the middle, it's Zanini. Zanini gets the 1st stage of the 3 days of Le Panne, and he will get the jersey as well. Now coming up to the line, this looks like Houtman. This is Schmiel on the left-hand side. Schmiel is going to get it for 3rd. No, he's not. Ooh, that was pretty close. We'll have to have a look at the photo for that. In fact, I thought Schmiel was going to get 3rd, but there's no doubt about the win of the 1st stage of the 3 days of Le Panne. It goes to the man in the multicolored Mapei jersey there, the man who loves Belgium, Stefano Zanini, stage win number 1, and the white jersey of leadership as well. Here's confirmation. The first 2 riders with a 15-second advantage over André Houtman. And a little bit further back, André Schmiel was credited with 4th place. At the start of the 2nd stage, let's have a look at the overall standings. Stefano Zanini leads Peter van Petegem by 4 seconds. André Houtman is in 3rd place, 21 seconds behind. And the ambassador of Belgian cycling, André Schmiel, is in 4th, 25 seconds back. The second stage is the longest stage of the 3 days of La Panne, 232 kilometers, leaving Zottegem, heading up to De Panne. But the important part for all of these riders is the big concentration of climbs around Ypres and Poperang. The Monteberg, followed by the Kemmelberg, then the Rodeberg and the Zwaarteberg. That is where the decision is very often made, and it's an area that the man from the coast, Johan Museeuw, knows very, very well. Quick glimpse there of Roger Hammond at the start, Bradley Wiggins, the British-Australian rider, as we turn into the Kemmelberg for the first time. And on the front, the Flemish lion himself. This man loves this part of Belgium. He trains not too far away from here. He's followed there by Stefan Weserman in second position. Just a little bit further back, another good telecom rider in the pink and black jersey. That's Andreas Clear. And amazingly enough, the riders able to ride on the dirt track at the side of the cobblestones at the moment. When they come back here in a couple of weeks' time for Gent-Wevelgem, this will be all barriered off and they will be forced to ride on the cobblestones. Now, setting the tempo on the front here, Stefan Weserman, a man for the classics. There's the leader in the white jersey, Stefano Zanini. There's Gabriele Colombo, former winner of Milan-San Remo. The green jersey there was Van Petegem himself, very close to the front. This climb for the moment has not had too much of an impact on the group. They're all going up this climb together. But as we ride ourselves off the summit of the Kemmelberg, a small group of riders has gone clear. I make it 21 riders in that leading group with 24 kilometers to go. And all the big names are in here. They have an advantage of around about 1 minute over the main field. And here comes an attack. That's the style of Andrea Taffy, the green jersey, as the leader of the points competition there is Peter Van Petegem, and nobody's responded. Now, coming out of the group, it looks like Hincapie there. Hincapie looking very attentive, trying to get himself into a small group across to the lone leader there, Andrea Taffy. Van Petegem is just doing one thing at the moment. He's keeping his eye very closely on the man on his shoulder there. That white jersey is Stefano Zanini. That's around 40 or 50 meters advantage there for Andrea Taffy. You can just see the small group there containing Georgi Hincapie and the rest of the group not too far behind. Another rider coming across here to Taffy. That will make it 2 riders at the front of affairs. Taffy had a very good start to the season this year. This is Balducci coming across here right now. Taffy started his season this year in the Tour Down Under, then went to ride the Tour de Langkawi, and now trying to fine-tune his preparation for the one-day classics, Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix in 10 days' time here at the 3 days of La Panne. There are the 2 lone leaders. Their advantage not very much over a small group of around about 15, 16 riders. The ever-present Peter Van Petegem, the leader on points in this bike race at the moment, shadowed there by the man who leads the race in the white jersey, Stefano Zanini. We're not too far away now from Coxide and the finish after 232 kilometers of racing. As we go a little bit further back down the road, the main field is actually hammering along right now. They're a minute behind the 2 leaders, but only about 40 seconds behind the group in the middle, which contains the major contenders. In this leading group is Johan Museeuw. There is the group with Peter Van Petegem and Zanini. And a little bit further back, in fact, the junction about to be made right now. So we're looking at a situation on the road where we have 2 leaders right at the front of the race, Taffy and Balducci, and the whole of the main field just 28 seconds behind them. This is a huge main field here right now, and I'm sure we'll see them picking up the tempo as we get closer to town. 7 kilometers to go to the finishing line. That's around about 9 minutes of racing at speeds like this. You keep noticing the white jersey at the front, Zanini very present. In fact, the 2 leaders are about to be pulled back into the fold, but one man insisting off the front there. It looks as if that is the colour of Balducci, who is coming back to the main field. So that will mean that Andrea Taffy has decided to try and insist and carry on alone. There's Balducci, so it is Taffy at the front of the race. It's Domo Farm Frites on the front right now. That looks like Cervez Carnarvon trying to keep the pace high. Andrea Taffy, former Italian national champion, Kop van der Wegstrijd. That means the front of the bike race, and there's only one name in it right now, Andrea Taffy, the Italian former winner of Paris-Roubaix, but I think it's all over for him as well. He went out with about 40 kilometers to go, and almost inside of 6 kilometers, he's going to get caught by the main field. He knows it's all over. Now he has to change his role now and try and see if he can get his man Stefano Zanini up to the front for the possibility of a win. There are time bonuses on all the individual stages of the 3 days of La Panne, and that is what Stefano Zanini and Peter van Petegem must pay very close attention to, because at the start of the day they were only separated by 4 seconds. Well, Tom Steele's coming through on the outside there. He was led out by Stefano Zanini. It's going to be a win for Mappé again at the lunge for the line. In fact, Steels hasn't got it. Steels, in fact, I think went across the line in second place. The man just lunging through the middle there with the red helmet is Salius Ruskis from Lithuania. He gets the win there as we look at the photo finish, easily by half a wheel ahead of Tom Steels, and I think Nico Eickhout just edges in for third place. Second stage here, the win going to Salius Ruskis of Lithuania ahead of Tom Steels of Belgium, and Nico Eickhout there in third place as well, but also a good position for Alessandro Patacchi in fourth. The final day of the 3 days of La Panne is a circuit race finishing and starting in De Panne, 118 kilometers. But one thing that happened yesterday, in fact, was there was a very dramatic crash on the descent of the Kemmelberg, and the man who is out and probably out for the Tour of Flanders is André Schmiel, the man who is expecting to go out into the one-day classics in fine form for the last time. Well, that's not likely to be the case this year. This is the 118 kilometer stage 3 from De Panne up to Middelkerk, then back into Dixmude, into De Panne for a short circuit of 9 kilometers, and then the end of stage 3A before the riders will then prepare themselves for the very decisive individual time trial. Let's refresh our memories of the overall standing. Stefano Zanini now leads Peter van Petegem by 5 seconds, ahead of Andrea Houtman by 24 seconds. And watch out for the very good time trialist there, Laszlo Bodrogi of Mappé in fourth place. He's only 28 seconds off the leaderboard. Out on the course, 105 kilometers the loop, bringing the riders into De Panne. They're now going past the Dixmude Tower, which is a memorial to World War I. And this is the point where the Belgians finally managed to hold back the Germans just on the far side there of the River Eis. The race situation at the moment is there are 2 riders off the front of the main peloton. They lead by a minute and a half. It's Van der Koe from the Bank Giro Loteria, and he's joined by a French rider, Frank Pencoli of the Française des Jeux. A lot of riders on the front of this group trying to keep the tempo up and pull everything back together before they come into De Panne, where they will face a 9-kilometer loop of the town, and then it's a big charge down to the finishing line. That's Ludo Dirksen's on the right-hand side there. His teammate coming through there as well, Jos Verstrepen. The Italian tricolor there, the very famous Daniele Nardello, doing a lot of work for Team Mappé today. All of these teams sending riders further forward now to try and keep the pace high. That's Andrea Taffy as well. Today working as a workhorse to try and make sure that when we come to the sprint finish at the end, the man in the white jersey there, Stefano Zanini, can get himself some time bonus advantage over the man in second place in the overall standings. Peter van Petegem is the man in second place, and he will be looking to put in a very strong individual time trial. But now with 46 kilometers to go, the leaders, their advantage has gone inside of 1 minute, 49 seconds to be exact, and you can tell by the temper in the main field that very certainly these 2 men will shortly be brought back into the fold. This now, looking down on the main field, is a charging peloton, or what remains of the 3 days of La Panne, as we are not too far away from the finish line now, and the 2 men are raising the white flags. And as soon as they see the neutral service car going forward like this, they know that the race and their attack is almost over. It's bad for the morale when you see that. You've been at the front of the bike race, and for Pencoli there looking back, he can see the charging main field, which is being led, strangely enough, by a lot of blue jerseys at the moment, the jerseys of the US Postal Service, and that is the team of Georgi Hincapie. Hincapie, I think, today looking for a chance to try and get himself a stage win before he goes into the Tour of Flanders, because he this year is hoping to try and win that race. And it is very strongly rumoured that Lance Armstrong is going to make the journey up to Belgium here to try and help George Hincapie win his first major one-day classic. He did win Gent-Wevelgem last year, but if he could win the Tour of Flanders or Paris-Roubaix, he would go in amongst the greatest American one-day classic riders. Now then, inside of 1 kilometre now, this is what it looks like at the back of the main field, but for Team Mapei, they're doing everything they can. This is Robbie Hunter on the front. Second place there is Andrea Taffy. The white jersey there is Stefano Zanini. Not too far behind him there, though, is Peter van Petegem. The green jersey now there is on the shoulders of Tom Steels. Steels is also trying to make sure that van Petegem doesn't get onto the wheel of Stefano Zanini. Now the big acceleration on the front. The jerseys are changing. They're white jerseys now. It's no longer Mapei. In fact, it's Faso Bortolo. This is Baldato trying to lead out his teammate Pataki coming up to the line. This is Baldato coming again on the outside. There's another move there by Ruskis, but in fact Baldato seemed to be trying to lead the sprint out for a teammate, but nobody came by him. So that is a win for Fabio Baldato, making the continuation of a brilliant season so far for Faso Bortolo. And in fact, coming up to the line, it wasn't Pataki in second place, it was Marco Zanotti. So it's a 1-2 for Faso Bortolo. Third place there just going to Ruskis, who won the stage yesterday. And in about fifth or sixth place was Giorgi Hincapi. So not a win for him today, a win for Italy and Fabio Baldato. Second place again in Italian, Marco Zanotti. Salius Ruskis is third, and George Hincapi there given fourth place. Stage 3B, the final stage, the decisive stage, and very early on, in fact before very much of our television cameras came live, Dylan Casey went out starting number 13 on the day, and when he came up to the line, it was an absolutely stupendous time for this 14 kilometers individual time trial, 17 minutes and 29 seconds, and that was going to be the mark that everyone would aim for. 14th in the overall standings, Tom Boonen of the US Postal Service, 21 years of age. Here he's a man who they hope will become the next Belgian star. But for Giorgi Hincapi, going into the one-day classics, he can turn in a very good individual time trial and the chance for him to move high in the overall standings. Out on the course, you can see the speed of these riders. We're touching speeds in the individual time trial of around about 50 kilometers an hour. That there was the style of Tom Boonen, as the windmills show and indicate that the wind is coming in off the North Sea at the moment. Look at this. This is a study of style here as we look at the pedaling action of George Hincapi. Absolutely perfect. The feet are flat at the bottom of the arc there as he keeps this huge gear ticking over. A brilliant aerodynamic position for Hincapi. Boonen comes up to the line. The time to beat is that of his teammate Dylan Casey, 17:28. He's not going to do that, but he will put in a fine performance. Now this man could be a possible winner of the individual time trial here, Nico Eickhout. He's a great time trialist. We saw that earlier in the year in the Étoile de Bessèges, and he will now go out to face this 14-kilometer individual test. Hincapi, the times posted out on the course have been very good. He has to beat his teammate Dylan Casey, and he's going to go well inside of that. Time to beat is 17:28, and Hincapi's going to do that marvelously. 17 minutes and 17 seconds for George Hincapi. He is now at the top of the leaderboard. Just two men left to finish. Two men left to start, I should say. Peter van Petegem rolling off the grid there. Only one man will start behind him, the overall leader of the bike race, Stefano Zanini. But for van Petegem, he's ridden this race before. He knows what the 3 Days of La Panne is all about. As an amateur, he was the national champion of Belgium on the road. He was also the national time trial champion as well. And today he's pushed by the possibility of winning the 3 Days of La Panne too. His teammate Nico Eickhout is out on the course. He started the day in 7th place in the overall standings, and a good ride in this individual time trial will put him to the top and possibly a podium position at the end of the day. Stefano Zanini in the white jersey. He's led this race since the very first day in Zottegem. He now needs to put in the time trial performance of his life, but he's up against a very motivated Peter van Petegem, and looking at the face on Zanini here, it is not a face of absolute confidence. He knows he's not a great time trialist. Peter van Petegem, he's got the aerodynamic helmet on there, trying to make sure he can cut through the wind as easily as possible. A very strong pedaling action. Coming up to the line there, Eickhout is trying to beat the time of Giorgi Hincapi, which is the leader's mark at the moment. He's not going to do that, so still the USA at the top of the leaderboard with Hincapi. out on the course, so it looks as if this man might just beat Hincapie, though. Peter van Petegem, he's not far away, maybe 150 metres from the finish line. Oh, those cones are very dangerous for these riders. He's gone outside and wide, and he's going to charge to the line right now. Hincapie's is the time to beat, but the new best time is Peter van Petegem, 16 minutes and 58 seconds. Now it is all over. It is all over for Stefano Zanini. They were separated by 5 seconds at the start of the day. His time has ticked by. Peter van Petegem is going to be the winner of the stage. The white jersey on the shoulder the man from Italy, Stefano Zanini, will be taken away and put onto the shoulders of Peter van Petegem at the end of the day as we get confirmation of the stage result. Van Petegem beating Hincapie there by 19 seconds. Hincapie pushed down into second place, but after 3 days of racing at the Days van De Panne, Van Petegem is the winner by 33 seconds, and George Hincapie with that ride there, moving himself up into third place in the overall standings. This is the finishing charge of Peter van Petegem, and it bodes well for the upcoming Tour of Flanders. This man will certainly now take the ticket of the super favourite for Sunday's big challenge. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the 3 days of Le Panne, which has lived up to its role as a curtain raiser to the upcoming one-day international cycle classics. I'm Paul Sherwen, until the next time, saying goodbye.